can't do it with all these interruptions that I have to bring to him and Jay Sekulow from, you know, this totally rigged investigation.
Here with reaction, Bruce Klingner, Senior Research Fellow with the Heritage Foundation, once with the CIA, overlooking North Korea and the peninsula as well. You've planned these things before, been involved in the planning of these summits. What's happening beyond the diplomatic posturing we see on TV every day?
Well, behind the scenes, there has to be a lot of preparation by officials, the U.S. and North Korea, not only on the logistics of the summit, but on the agenda, trying to reach agreement. Traditionally, there would have been agreement on the substance before presidents and leaders walked into the room. Now we've thrown out the diplomatic playbook. We're doing a top-down approach rather than bottom-up. So everything is in a much more state of turmoil than would have been the norm.
The word that keeps getting thrown around is denuclearization, and that's what the North Koreans said they were open to or committed to. And now we're getting down to what is the definition of denuclearization. Seems rather obvious, but vastly different when you listen to the United States and the North Koreans.
Very much so. A week ago, a senior North Korean official, the first Vice Foreign Minister, Kim Dae-kwon, really just made very clear publicly what the North Korean position is. It's not a surprise to Korea watchers, but it seemed to have come as a surprise to the White House. The U.S. and not only defines it, but the UN requires under numerous resolutions that North Korea abandon its nuclear and missile programs in what's called a complete, verifiable, irreversible manner. North Korea sees it quite differently, not unilateral disarmament, but as part of global arms control. And now, as they say, they're in the nuclear club, we'll go down to zero when the rest of the world goes to zero.
Same word, different meanings. Marco Rubio, along the same lines of what you just had to say. Take a listen.
We have a leader in Kim Jong-un who has almost an emotional attachment and a personal psychological attachment to these nuclear weapons. They make him feel prestigious. They make him feel powerful. And they have, quite frankly, been what his regime has been known for since he took over 7 years ago.
Well, and not only make him feel powerful, they make him powerful. Suddenly, the President of the United States is willing to get on a plane and fly to meet the leader of a country that has a GDP of like Cleveland. And yet, the President's willing to talk. That doesn't happen if Kim Jong-un doesn't have nuclear weapons.
Right. And North Korea also attaches heavy conditionality to any constraints on its nuclear programs. And we saw that in the readout from the South Korean delegation that met with Kim and then met with President Trump. The security assurance, a security guarantee of his regime, as well as what they call the end of the U.S. hostile policy, which usually means removal of U.S. troops from Korea, end of all U.S. and UN sanctions, and the list of demands goes on.
When you put those two definitions of denuclearization and then you list, as you well know, the North Koreans' demands, this begins to seem like a non-starter.
It really, from a North Korean point of view, you sort of wonder if they would ever give up their nuclear weapons. It's what they see as guaranteeing their security, far more than any kind of document that any U.S. president could give them. And they repeatedly point to, we will not be another Iraq, Syria, Libya.
Or Libya was the one that really set them all off. Right. The question then is, by the president being willing to sit down with them and give Kim Jong-un that legitimacy, is it inherently a win for the North Koreans and a lose for the United States just by sitting down?
I think the U.S. should always be willing to have diplomats sit down with others, including those that we have strong disagreements with. I wouldn't have had the president meet before we have a deal worked out, and that's why President Bill Clinton didn't go in 2000 when North Korea invited him. But we're now in this situation, so we need to have very good preparations prior to the president going, and we really need to resolve the differences on denuclearization, I think, before he goes.
And as you point out, those differences are a chasm that is vast and unlikely to be leaped in 2 bounds. Good to see you, as always, sir. We'll have a lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks, years, months. Bruce, thanks. All right, you can catch the full interview with President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, on Fox News Sunday. There's a lot there about the Russia probe, North Korea, and others. That's coming up right after this program, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Well, as the wall, you can see behind me, the wall is a powerful reminder of the incredible sacrifice of American men and women in uniform. And as we honor them, the fight continues in helping the next generation of veterans. I caught up with the Senior Vice Commander-in-Chief of the VFW, BJ Lawrence, as well as the Senior Vice President